Episode number 259.
I don't want to try to sell you something. I want to put out something that hopefully you'll learn from, and hopefully we can have a conversation about this, right? It's about building relationships, but contextual relationships.
Welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff, where we talk about life, dreams, social media, and business.
Well, hello and welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff. Folks, you know your boy is always fired up, but after this show, I think you're going to want to get more control of your connections and specifically your LinkedIn, folks, because I am bringing you guys a master, a connector. I'm bringing you guys an influencer, folks. I'm bringing you guys my man, Jordan Mendoza. Jordan, are you ready to be real?
Yes, sir.
He's bringing it, folks.
Real, my friend.
He's ready. He's ready. And he's a focus on sales and leadership training, as well as he's doing speaking, and then also focus on building your personal brand. And we're going to talk about how Jordan's done that with an amazing LinkedIn following of over 55,000, as well as he helps people do this for themselves through his business Impulse Consulting. Helping people build their personal brands on LinkedIn and growing and scaling and basically helping you do that or giving you the tips and strategies. And then how we got connected was he has an amazing podcast, folks, which is called Blaze Your Own Trail, the Blaze Your Own Trail podcast. So you guys have to check that out too. Jordan, like I do all our guests, how's your day going today, my man?
Hey, man, day is going beautiful. How about yourself, my friend?
Hey, you know what? It's another day in paradise. It's Friday. We're recording on a Friday today. But like I say, every day is Friday when you're an entrepreneur in my world because I have to work every day, you know? And so when you're working every day, folks, it is about your mindset and getting over the humps. And so the way I get over my humps is I tell myself every day is Friday, you know, listen to good music. Fridays are my favorite too, Jordan, because now all the new music comes out on Friday. So got the new Drake song in my eardrums today with DJ Khaled. And but that talking a little bit about your story, my man, because you have a great story. Not only an amazing father of 5 now, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You just had your little one.
Yeah, June 24th, baby Braylon arrived, and he is now 3 weeks old, which is crazy. That's already been 3 weeks.
Wow. What a blessing, brother. What a blessing. It's a blessing to have children going through these times. Although I know that they unfortunately have maybe some things that they're sacrificing. We're trying to get the schools open here in California, things like that. But it's a blessing to have kids because then you get to be basically in a mindset of someone that is not worried about these things maybe as much, you know? And so if you're spending time around a bunch of adults, everyone's freaked out right now, you know? And so it's just something special about being with the kids and you're a great dad, man. So that leads me into your story. First off, tell us a little bit about your story. Tell us a little bit about the history of my man, Jordan Mendoza.
Yeah, my friend. Hey, I'd love to. And I appreciate the opportunity of coming on the Be Real show. Super excited to be here. So yeah, I actually grew up in the Pacific Northwest, in Portland, Oregon. If there's any listeners from Portland, shout out to you. And I grew up in not very great condition, meaning we didn't have a whole lot of money, you know. But what we did have was we had a mom that cared about us, that loved us, and that did her best to make sure she could provide for us. And she actually did all of this with one lung. You know, my mom was born in 1958, and when she was born, the doctors they said, "Listen, you're probably not going to live to be 18," is what they told my grandmother, wow. And she's probably not going to be able to have any kids. And that was pretty. And then they kind of just sent her on her way because back then there wasn't a whole lot of technology, and we don't have the equipment and tools that they did back then. So of course, she wasn't dealt a very good hand, but she was the person that got us into sports. Like, she was super into sports. She was kind of like ESPN before it even existed, right? She knew all the stats, and she made sure that she figured out ways to get us scholarships for things, or, obviously I thought everybody had free lunch back then, right? I thought I was the cool guy with the pink tickets, but and she didn't really make us feel like we lacked, right? And she was always super positive. Although she really couldn't work, she figured out ways to do side hustles before they even existed, right? She would go play bingo and try to hit those blackouts. She would actually go to the dog races and try to get some trifectas and make some money to provide, right? Yeah, because when you're dealing with that and your body's having to overcompensate already, it's very hard to sustain like a full-time job, but she got sick in 2011, man. This was a crazy time. I was managing about 558 apartment homes in Atlanta, and had a large team at the time. I had about 17 employees, and I get a call from my mom, and she says, "Hey, I fell down. I'm actually at the hospital right now." She's like, "Everything's going to be okay. They're just running some tests and things like that." And that day, Travis, was the last time that I heard her voice. Wow. Because her body just started to shut down, right? I mean, you think about 54 years of one lung operating, right. in your body. Right. So what was happening is, her kidneys started to fail. And, she had gotten pneumonia, and then all of her organs just started to go haywire. And by February, I was flying out, having to have those hard conversations. And, early March, she passed away, wow. and I can remember the feeling, brother, of like, I felt like my life was over, and because, my relationship with mom and all of our relationship, she ended up having 5 boys, right? I've got 4 brothers, wow. But our relationship with her was so strong, I think, because we saw someone that, although she had an ailment, lived life to the fullest, right. Take advantage of opportunities that she could to make sure she could provide for us. So, when she passed away, I was in a funk, man. I didn't even realize it till about a year later, because I was kind of in this cloud. Right. I had actually gotten a demotion. They had me go to a smaller community because I wasn't performing, and whether I like that or not, I mean, probably from a business standpoint, right thing to do. But, the hope that I had was like, hey, check in with me and see how I'm doing. I probably would have told you, I wasn't doing very great, if that makes sense. But, I think everything happens for a reason, brother. And, not long after that, I got a training and development role, and I've been in this department for 8 years, so sometimes one door closes for another one opening, right? Absolutely. But that was, that's a little bit about mom, and I like to share that because it gives people context, and like, I'm super optimistic, I'm positive, I love sports, I love to make people laugh, and those were all qualities that my mom had, so those are all things that I inherited from her. And then, my dad, actually, my real dad, I didn't meet till I was 12, so it was crazy. Like, my mom, one day, she said, "Hey, how would you like to go out to Washington, D.C. and meet your dad?" Wow. And here I am at 12 thinking, like, you want me to go meet the guy that hasn't been around? Like, okay, and then after I thought about it for a while, my dad's from the Philippines, and I said, you know what, it'd be a really great experience to at least go and meet this side of my ancestry, right? Sure. My mom was just a white lady with green eyes and blonde hair, and of course, her last name was Lynch, so the Irish roots, and as well as Chippewa Indian. But I really, there was some similarities in the way that we look, but you could definitely tell I was different, right? Right. So, I wanted to go and see for myself this other side of the family. And of course, there were some questions that I had, like, hey, bro, where were you? Like, where have you been all of this time, and things like that. And so I flew out to meet him. And of course, it was a little awkward at first, but I was there for I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks. It was quite a while. And, I got to meet my grandparents and my stepmom and stepbrother and things like that, and really get some context in the Philippine culture, and learning a little bit about the language and things like that. So it was a cool experience. And really what I've realized is, my dad was an entrepreneur. He had a landscaping company at that time for more than 20 years.
Wow.
And never done a single piece of marketing or advertising. His business cards are black and white and say his name on them. And
right. Just do the service, baby. Just keep
exactly.
the service.
He was all word of mouth. So like people found out because their neighbor told them about his company, right. That's how he built his whole business. But I learned really how to work hard from him. Right. I learned that if I'm going to say I'm going to do something, then I need to follow that up and do it, accountability. So there's some things that I learned from him. And if you kind of mold those things together from mom and dad, that's really who I am as a person,
right.
And I think it's really important, especially in business. And whenever I'm doing a lot of virtual summits now and speaking, and I love to give context on me first, because I think that's super important, that you get to know the person that the actual human you're dealing with, right? When it comes to business, before I tell you any of the things that I'm great at, let's give you context into me.
And I think it's real important too, because we all have a story, folks. And you embrace your story. Some people hide away from their story. Some people don't want to tell their story because, like we had one of our guests, people either want to think you got to have the worst story on the block or you got to have the best story on the block. And that's not the truth. It's just tell your story. And that's when I created my Be Real show. That's why I really loved the idea, was that, hey, I could get to understand what these people were about, but then maybe I could tell my story along the journey over the last 6 years of the 250 shows. I'm sure anyone that's listened to 250 of them has heard a little bit about T. Huff's story along the way, and so, and the journey, maybe not as much as the guests, but if you've listened to all 250, you might have. So I think it's just a really good perspective, Jordan. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. And it's very important, especially going into and coming out of hopefully these crazy Rona times, going into hopefully new, different times, whatever you call it, new normal, whatever the new reality is for most of us. It's taking life a little bit more, breathing in the fresh air, like your mom did, soaking it in, and appreciating life, because it is a short time we have here. And, just anyone that's listening, just give a shout out to Jordan's mom, because that something about that is so special. It's so special and cherished in this world, especially right now. So cherish those that are around you. And then, smile at the universe and say, hey, I love you, man. But that leads me into then kind of how you help people, because you're kind of really now more focused in leadership and training, and helping really sales organizations or lead or find ways to develop in culture, develop maybe, more leads at the end of the day. And let's just be real, make more money. Let's just bottom line. If people are hiring a trainer, they want you to help them kind of train them and get the staff going to help make more sales happen, right?
1,000%. Absolutely.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
So, I've got a unique situation, and it's just really the way that I'm designed and the way I'm wired. But so I have a full-time corporate role as a training and development manager. And part of that role, when COVID hit, we had to activate, and we had to work quick, right? Because, my company is a national property management company with, more than 30,000 units.
Wow.
And now we can no longer tour people, right? So I got activated, and since COVID hit, since mid-March, I've created 6 new sales training courses, contextual to how do you sell virtually? How do you now paint the picture? How do you use Zoom? How do you shoot video content that's more captivating, right? I created 6 new courses and have put over 450 associates through that content. Just since mid-March.
No shit.
So that's, you have to get strategic, right? Like, okay, now that they can't come tour, what do we do now? So cool. Let me teach you how to use Zoom. Right. And so then I can teach you how to share a Zoom link to get them on a Zoom call, to meet with them face to face, to tour them through the community via video on Zoom together while you're there, and have contextual conversations and be able to paint the picture and be able to close and drop the link in Zoom, right? I mean, so it was really getting creative about, what could this process look like? And now that this is the only option, right?
Right.
And of course, thinking about that a little further, and then we got into, all right, what about, contactless touring, where they could come in, they could scan their ID, they could, take a tour of the community. It has different touch points that come on audibly and tell them about the areas, and they can do all of that without a human there, right? So it's about, I think, being creative and innovative and testing things out. As you know, in marketing, it's all about the A and B test, right? It's all about testing and seeing what thing is going to work. And sometimes that A doesn't work, so you got to go to B. And then you got to come up with the next A, right? So it's all about testing and getting creative. And when it comes to sales, for me, it's all about building relationships, right? If you look at people as a transaction, that's what you're going to get every time.
Right.
If you're looking to build a sustainable relationship, then you're going to get that, right? It's all about your intentions. And listen, people can try to fake it till they make it all the time, but if you're just not being your genuine, authentic self, like you as the human being, you're going to lose eventually.
Absolutely. So true. So true. But then that leads me in also to one of your probably favorite places to hang out. I know LinkedIn. You've built an epic following of over 55,000 folks on LinkedIn. I'm sure it's taken a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Obviously, it didn't just happen overnight. Bots didn't just automate this thing, as all these people are now selling LinkedIn bot tools and services and things like that. Tell us a little about LinkedIn and your idea, and then also kind of like maybe some ideas of strategies and ways that people can utilize LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I really got active on the platform last April. So I think, last April, I logged in for the first time in a while. I prior to that, like most people, use it as a place to come make myself look cooler by updating my resume, right? Like, I think that's what most of us use LinkedIn for prior to now, where it's becoming this social media powerhouse. And so when I logged in April, I think I had about 7,000 connections at that time. And I just noticed the platform had changed, brother. Like, people were posting video, they're writing articles, like the whole thing about it changed. And I just saw it as a major opportunity, but I didn't know how. Like, I didn't know what I could do, but I knew that I had content, right? Like, I am the content,
right?
Because of the expertise that I have in certain areas. If I start actually creating content around that, then maybe that will build a network for myself, right? And so I came across a guy named Brian Schulman. I don't know if you're connected with him on the platform, but he's just super positive guy. He does two weekly initiatives, one on Wednesday called What's Good Wednesday, one on Saturday, Shout Out Saturday. And I just saw he was him on camera, and he was, just being himself, and he was posting the video that was positive. And I just looked at that and I said, man, like, that's somebody, for one, I need to connect with, and for two, like, why can't I do that?
Right.
I had that question, but then of course, all the same things that creeps up in all of our minds, probably multiple times a day, is like, who's going to want to listen to me?
Yeah.
Who's going to want to hear what I have to say, right? So I actually reached out to the guy, and like, he jumped on a call with me. He's like, listen, he's like, share a little bit about yourself. Tell me what you do. Tell me this. And he's like, brother, people need to hear your message. Just imagine if you can inspire one person a day. That's 365 people a year. And you double that, right? And so, they got me thinking. He's like, you know what? You're right. Like, my biggest roadblock here is me.
Right.
It's that I don't like how I look on camera or how I sound or anything like that. But what if I just show up, right? So I posted that first video, brother, back in April of last year. And I remember it got 5 views, and probably all of them were me,
Right.
I remember being so focused on the views. And then I had to have that kind of moment with myself where I was like, what are you doing? Like, who cares?
The views don't matter. Right.
Keep creating, just be consistent. And so I did. I was consistent. I started showing up. I started doing videos on sales, on leadership, on social media, on really any area I had expertise in. I just started speaking my truth in those areas. And I remember I had one post in June that it blew up, and I didn't know why. I really honestly It literally said something like, try smiling at everyone you come in contact with today. You never know what people are going through. What's the worst that could happen? I think that was literally it.
Wow.
And when I tell you, bro, it got more than 180,000 views, and it was shared like 90 times around the world.
Wow.
So I called it the smile heard around the world, right? Because it literally just took off and went viral. And I remember like after that post, I had crossed over like 10,000 followers, like my following grew. It was just crazy, and I was so blown away because I'm pretty confident I'm the same guy I was a couple months ago. And I don't feel like I did anything special, but it only takes it resonating with one to cause the type of reaction to get it to 180,000.
Right. Yeah. Because one person shares it to two.
That's exactly it.
Shares it to four.
And it just catches on, like wildfire, right? And so I knew I was onto something then because my DMs started blowing up. People were like, "Oh, I love your positivity. Do you do this? Do you do that? Could you help me here?" People started asking me for advice, and I just kept creating, right? You know how it is when you're catching momentum. You want to keep going. You want to keep creating, and you want to keep making sure that you're adding value. And that was my whole positioning was, how can I add value to other people? I don't want to try to sell you something. I want to put out something that hopefully you'll learn from, and hopefully we can have a conversation about this, right? Because again, it's in sales, right? If it's sales is part of your strategy, which if you're a business, it has to be. It's about building relationships, but contextual relationships. So I did a good job at messaging with people and taking the online, offline, hopping on Zoom calls with people and really building real relationships versus just posting and ghosting and not interacting with the audience. Because I think that's a big mistake that people have, is they'll create a piece of content and then they'll just leave and not log back in, and then they'll come back and wonder why there's no engagement, wonder why there's no traction. Just because you left. You left the party, right? It's like you showed up and you brought the DJ, but then you just left the building, right? Like no one's gonna want to engage, right? So that was one thing I found important, right? If we're looking for tips here, is when you're posting, you need to budget some time to engage with your audience. Right. And if you're not asking a open-ended question, right? And an open-ended question is your call to action. Don't be surprised if people don't engage.
Right.
You didn't ask them to. Right. Like we want to be asked questions and we want to give our perspective and our thoughts, but sometimes people want that invitation.
Got you. Good. Really good point. So how long or how much time would you say back then you started spending on a daily or weekly basis on LinkedIn?
Really back then it was, budgeting an hour a day, right? Gotcha. Because if you can post and then budget that hour to engage with your audience, right? Then that was working. And then I learned, I was like, oh, you know what? Well, I can't just engage with the audience on my content. I need to go out and engage with other people as well. Right. Because not only is it helpful to keep that relationship, but your voice is being heard by other people. Absolutely. And if people like what you have to say, what are they going to do? They're going to get interested. They're going to check out your profile. And then that's when conversations start to happen, because I look at profile views as like somebody knocked on your door, right? It's like they looked at my profile. So they've essentially shown some type of interest. So if I reach out to them, it's no longer a cold lead, right? It's no longer cold, it's warm. Right. Because they already showed their interest, right? And so, I don't know about you, but if you've ever done warm calling or cold calling, you know which one's a lot easier, right?
Of course.
You know which one's a lot easier.
Yeah, one you get a phone call, one you actually get to talk to somebody.
That's exactly it. That's right. But yeah, man. So in the building process, Travis, what was crazy is like December of 2019, I remember I hit 20,000 followers. I think it was like mid-December. And I was like, I thought to myself, I'm like, that's like more than you can fit in the Rose Garden where my Portland Trail Blazers play. Like I put that into context. I was like, where are all these people coming from and why are they following? I was like questioning, well, how come there's so many people that are, and for posting about it and just being so grateful because, it's an honor when people enjoy and engage and follow with your content, So, I just never stopped creating. And, by April, I think I hit 40,000 and I just crossed 50 not too long ago and approaching 60. And it's just crazy how, how big of a network you can grow when you, for one, show up, right?
Right.
You got to start there. For two, engage with other people's content, right? And for three, really start to have conversations, like take it to the next level. Don't just interact, but try to figure out ways that you can really meet with people offline and build relationships, because there's so much more on the other side, right? There's opportunities, there's partnerships, there's podcast guests, right? Like there's speaking engagements. There's so many things that you can have if you start kind of taking action.
That's awesome, dude. That is amazing, folks. I love that. I love that because it's so true. It's like you got to get out of your own head, create content, put it out there, and hope that at least one person likes it, engage with them. And then also a really good point that he said is, engage with other people's posts, start spending time, put thoughtful comments. I mean, a lot of times go to Gary Vaynerchuk and start posting some provocative comments and some thought-provoking comments. You'll actually get quite a bit of people that will like your comment, and maybe a few people that connect to you just because of your comment on his post. So it's a great strategy. The types of content that you like to post right now on LinkedIn, what are some of your favorite types of content that you like to post right now?
Yeah, so I enjoy kind of long form copy. So I love to tell stories. I love copywriting. Those are just things that I'm very passionate about. So I love, trying to think of stories, and some of them recently I've been sharing are from like the 90s, and it's cool to really revisit some of the things and remember some of the situations that I went through, and then put it out and share it with people, because, hopefully people will learn from the mistakes that I made, and I think when you can be open and vulnerable and share things, even, I remember recently I shared about when I was 21 years old, I got a one-day job as an ice cream man, and I worked literally for 12 hours and thought I had made all this money, and went back to settle up, and they said, hey, you didn't fill up the tank. And so, by the time I ended up filling the gas tank up and settling up, I walked out of there with $12.
Wow.
So I think I set the record for lowest amount of money made per hour at $1 an hour, so, but learn my lesson that I got to really pay attention to the details, and know that information up front. So, but, I love sharing things like that and sharing experiences, because people can learn from it, hopefully, and not do the same thing.
So yeah, so really there's just nothing wrong right now with going back into your history, folks, and going back into the stories of your past and kind of rekindling those, and driving up maybe some emotions about the story, and then putting it on paper, putting it on write a note, and then start putting that stuff on social media. Let people engage, see what they take it, maybe, or if you're not good at writing, maybe tell it through a story or video, maybe tell it through your podcast, maybe tell it through, definitely through video is definitely one. And then, but audio is another really great one. As being a podcaster yourself, it's just people are listening to these things. You look at Joe Rogan, $100-something million contract just to license his podcast. It's the new format.
And I love video as well. I love, I did a 30-day challenge not too long ago. It was 30
Yes,
videos,
I saw that. Yes.
30 days, right? So it was fun because I'm the type of person where I love spontaneity. So I didn't actually create the video until the next day.
Right.
So literally, I would do the video and then edit it, post-production, everything, and post it. Gotcha. And I wouldn't work on it I wouldn't even come up with the topic till the next day.
Gotcha.
And so for me, it was like some people that'd be like, there's no way I could do that. I need to know it. I need to have, but for me, it's like, I love the pressure, man. I love that chaos of all right, what am I going to talk about today? How am I going to do this? And then have to get creative. And then, the process of editing videos, when I did that, I got so much better at it.
Oh yeah, I bet.
I had 30 days of experience, every single day.
Right.
I was creating, man. So it was so much fun to do. And now I have people that are like, hey, can you do those videos for me. Can I send you my videos? And you know what I'm saying?
Wow,
Like,
that's
it's
crazy.
just turned into another layer. So
Another revenue stream, baby. I love it. That is amazing, dude. Well, the biggest thing, and along with obviously many other great things, but a biggest thing I love about your story is showing up, because that is the most important thing. Like you said from the beginning, showing up for everything we do in our lives, whether it's our families, whether it's our businesses, but obviously we're so showing up on social, making sure you take advantage of these things. It's not rocket science. It's really not. It's just, it does take the ability to just give up the expectations, give up the bullshit, give up the excuses, give up the, I'm not going to get enough likes on this one. I'm not going to, or this one only got 5 views or whatever, like we were talking about earlier. That's normal in your first pieces of content that you put out to the world, right? I mean, it's normal for things to build and for people to want to see your stuff over time. And know, I always love this. Know that if you are impacting one person, that is all that matters. With your posts, usually when someone sees your post, it's usually only one person that actually sees it. Now, maybe multiple people are on other devices. Now, you got 55,000 people maybe seeing it all at once. But that one person it's still a little one-on-one relationship that you have there with them. And so think of it that way. But now, my man, we're about to take you into our top 10. Are you ready?
let's do it.
Let's go. Apple or Android?
Apple.
Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Chicken or steak?
Steak.
Laptop or a smartphone?
Smartphone.
Spotify or Pandora?
Spotify.
Movies or video games?
Movies.
Reading books or listening to books?
Listening to books.
Do you use Audible?
I do.
Yeah. Stocks or real estate?
Stocks.
And when you're thinking about a vacation, oceans or lakes?
Ocean.
What ocean would you go right now if you could get on a plane, or if you would be willing to go on a plane? I guess.
Yeah, I would go to Gulf of Mexico. Probably. We went to Destin in May, so I would go back there.
Heck yeah. Absolutely. We're going to get back on that, baby. We're going to get back there before we know it here. So when you're waking up in the morning, my man Jordan, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're getting ready for the day, you're ready to conquer the day. Why do you love being you?
I love being me because I love having fun and being sarcastic and trying to make people laugh and smile.
That's awesome, bro. Do you think you'll ever retire? Do you think that you'll ever say, "Hey, my shoes are done. I'm hanging them up"?
Probably not.
Hey,
probably not. I mean, because if when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right? So as long as you can still have the same passion, I think when the passion leaves, then I think it's time, right?
Right. Yeah, as long as you feel that fire. But yeah, there's something to it, man. I mean, the second that you say you stop having challenges in your life, folks, the synapses in your brain and these things, the connections we build by building through challenges and adversity and pushing ourselves and accomplishing something like you did with their 30 for 30-day challenge. I mean, that teaches you something. You're a better editor. You can do these things, and you can also do it for others. And so that's the point, in that it shows your capability, I think, too, especially. And then, like I said, we all don't want to just go to greener pasture with our brains, man. I mean, we want to still be coherent in our 60s, hopefully. How do you start your day? Do you have a routine? I know you got a family of 5, so how do you get that all going?
Yeah, man, I think it's right now, because our youngest one's 3 weeks, so it's trying to it's
a little bit difficult right now.
Hopefully getting some sleep, and then spend some time with the family in the morning, and then I get my day started, head down into my office and get to work, and come up for lunch and then back down. So
how do you like working from home? Have you always worked from home with the business?
No, but I've been working from home for 3 and a half months, I guess, since mid-March. So
how do you like it?
I love not sitting in traffic. I mean, who likes, I would love to find out who listening to this episode loves traffic,
Or we're spending money on gas too.
Yeah. I would love to have you on my podcast to talk all about it. I don't know anybody that likes traffic.
or extra gas money too. I mean, or
That's
just
it.
even getting ready for work.
Productivity, bro. It's the productivity that kills me,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I'm the guy that's like, as soon as I get in the vehicle, if I'm driving, I've got to be on the phone with somebody. I've got to be listening to a pod. You know what I'm saying? I've got to be doing something productive, and because I feel like it's just a waste of time sitting there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And so many people obviously have to do that, but now they're realizing, hey, maybe the new world is you don't have to be commuting 2.5 hours to your job every day, or an hour every day, or whatever that looks like. And the reality is it's normal. You know, a lot of people do have to drive, but the blessing of it, of working from home, is that, man, is you are in control of your time, and you can maximize it and slice it and dice it however you want. But it's beautiful. I love it. Is there a skill you're trying to master right now? Is there something you're trying to pick up, in this crazy year of 2020 to get better at?
No, actually, yeah. So I've recently just been messing around with overlays. So I built,
nice.
I've got a Facebook group, and it's an extension of the podcast. And I was like, you know what, let me create some overlays for my Facebook Live when I do live streams in the group. I'm starting to do podcast interviews with members of the group and things like that. So actually it turned out pretty good. I was like, oh man, I can do this. Okay, cool. Just another thing that, you don't have to outsource. So,
right. So can you explain for those that are listening what an overlay is? Because maybe some people are listening like, what is an overlay?
Yeah, so an overlay, it's really a template that goes around the frame of a video.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yep.
So I use StreamYard, shout out StreamYard, to do my Facebook Live videos.
Right.
And so you can create overlays. So like I can have on the bottom left, it'll say host Jordan Mendoza. On the bottom right, it'll say guest Travis Huff.
Gotcha.
Right? And then the top left is my logo. And then on the right, it says find us on Facebook, right? So you can add different graphics and things like that. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, that's just the only way I've learned is those kind of 4 buckets. But it actually worked out really well. And so it's something that I'm very interested in just mastering and getting even better at, because again, it's another service. You have expertise that can turn into an asset for your business, right? So,
absolutely. And you know how to do it. That's the most important thing. You know how to do it. So you can teach someone else. You can, if some vendors trying to screw you, because you're like, hey, I built overlays before. Don't worry about that. And if you guys are curious what that also looks like, look at your news. When you watch the news, you see quite a bit. Yep. They're using overlays and different
ESPN. They're using overlays.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody's using them. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I'm not up to that level yet, but give me a month.
You're working on your way, man. You're working on your way. I like your style. Right now on your phone, do you have a favorite app?
Yeah, I think my favorite app is probably the LinkedIn app. It's a place where, for those of you that don't know, the platform, it only enables you to have 30,000 first level connections. Meaning these are people that you've sent a request to, or they've sent a request to you. Only 30,000. So I reached that probably like 2.5 weeks ago or so. And the unique thing about that, Travis, this will be good info for you. Once you hit it, the only option on the platform, like the main option that's set, is follow. So anyone that falls on your profile, they immediately get shown a follow button.
Got you.
So if they, like your content, they can hit that follow. Now, people still can send you requests, but only way you can accept them is if somebody removes you as a connection, or you decide for some reason that maybe they're not active, or maybe it's a bot that you connected with by accident, something like that. Then you can remove a connection and let somebody else in. But yeah, even in the last 2.5 weeks, I now have like 300 and something people that have requested, but I'm just like, I can't do anything, So from that standpoint, I think it, a lot of people that I've talked to that have hit it, they use it contextually to now make sure that they have the network that they want, right? I mean, strategically, I think that's a good way to use that.
Or try to build out a new network, like go and try to have them go to your Instagram. Hey, I'd love to connect you here, but I've reached my limit. Can you follow me on Instagram? I'd love to connect you personally, or on Facebook, or on TikTok, or, all these different places that people are now leveraging. That's a good fun fact, folks. 30,000. And then, but once you hit 30,000, you really took off to 55,000. How the hell did that happen?
It's crazy. So I've actually, I think before I even maxed out, I was already, at like 40 something thousand followers. So I always had, like, I don't know how honestly, I don't know how it happened. Like, my followers are 25,000 more than my connection, which is crazy.
Gotcha.
But I think it's a good thing that it's that way, right? Because
absolutely,
it really propelled that number. Because, I think when you have that momentum and when you have that button, it's a lot easier to gain traction, I think, because that's the option that people have up front, so it's kind of like,
gotcha. I see what you're saying. They instantly follow you.
Hit that follow button. That's right. If they like your content, they just hit that follow button, right?
Gotcha.
So I think to go from 55 to 100 won't probably be that long. Now, of course, am I still putting out content that's valuable? Am I still showing up? You're not just gonna gain more people if you just get to a certain number mark and you stop, right? So I think it's important, because for me, I'm not concerned about the network is nice and the numbers are nice, but really it's, am I adding value? Right. Because that's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Am I making a difference in people's lives through the content?
That's amazing. You got a great life, brother. I love it, man. I love it. If you could sit down to dinner with anyone in the world right now, who would it be?
Oh man. So with anyone in the world,
they're coming to you
right now.
You know
what, man? I think with everything that's happening in all the given times, I just want to be around someone super funny. So it'd probably be Kevin Hart.
Hell yeah.
I'd love to just sit down with Kevin Hart and just
freaking having you rolling.
Yeah, just hang with him. Yeah, he's hilarious. So
he's got that show. Have you seen the show where he goes into like an ice bucket with someone?
Cold as balls. Yeah, man. That's funny. And now he's doing a virtual one through Zoom.
Oh, nice.
And the funny thing is he still has a security guards that pop in and out on the Zoom calls, and he's like, no one told you to be here. What are you doing here? So it's super funny.
Oh my God, the guy freaking makes me laugh every single time. Unbelievable. And he's a great businessman too. So
that's right.
Something to look at too, because the comedians are having a tough time, dude. I mean, you hear Rogan. Rogan's obviously in a different category because he got blessed and realized podcast game and started a podcast kind of organically, and now is basically the biggest podcaster in the world and is basically getting Howard Stern money now. But for all the other comedians out there, or actors or actresses, I mean, things are going to be shut down for a while. They're not going to be making movies. There's not minor league baseball playing right now. I mean, there's a lot of things people are going to be, affected by this, that are either athletes or stars and going for their dreams. You're going for your dream right now, folks. So just realize this though, is it's okay to have a dream and then also have maybe a backup plan. Have a dream, but then have a reality plan. And right now, it's okay to side hustle. It's okay to learn a new skill, teach yourself something. It's okay to make money, in the small revenue streams. Look at Jeff Bezos. He's making $11 million an hour right now, folks. So, we're all ordering from Jeff, and he's now making $11 million an hour right now since COVID. Has there been a book, my man, that has changed your life?
Oh, man. So one book that I highly recommend is called Learn Like a Leader. One of the authors is Travis Bradberry, and there's a lot of contributing authors to it. It's one of those, several different short stories.
Gotcha.
And there's stories about, global business leaders and real life experiences they had and the lessons that they learned. And then there's questions at the end of each chapter, right? I enjoyed learning like that. So that's a book that I definitely highly recommend.
We'll put that in the show notes. Learn like a leader. I love that. If you could leave our listeners with one last real talk thought, my man, what would that be today?
I would say that, if you want to build a brand, just be yourself. Just show up how you do when you wake up in the morning, how you do when you're hanging out at the park, when you're hanging with your buddies. If you can show up and be the real you, for one, it's a lot easier than trying to be somebody else. Right? I know.
Yeah.
We've all tried it. We've all been there,
right? Because
that doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't look comfortable.
Right.
But for two, you really start to learn more about you. You start to show up 100% how you are.
And you start to get comfortable with telling your story too. Because I think a lot of us are afraid of the vulnerability of our story. And so we try to make it, we try to edit Photoshop our story. And you don't need to Photoshop it, folks. Like he's telling you, it's just be yourself, tell it every day, and it gets easier. And you become easier to talk about to people. Just like when we're podcasting. Your boy's been doing this for 6 years now. I can do a show. I know how to do a show, And so, but when I first started, I didn't know how to do a show, And so, and there's been flubs along the way, And so that's just one of those things. You got to know, folks, that there is no right path, and most importantly is just take action today. So that, and leading into that, I love for my listeners to find where's the best place for them to follow you or learn about you online. I'm guessing a lovely place called LinkedIn, but I just thought I'd give you a shout out here. Is there any other places you'd like for people to follow you?
Yeah, no, you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. It's Jordan J. Mendoza. Instagram is at Jordan J. Mendoza. You can also, find my show anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's the Blaze Your Own Trail podcast. And if there's any way I can ever add value to you or help you with anything, find me on social, send me a message. I love talking with and meeting with people and really helping out in any way that I can. So really, Travis, I appreciate the time. Appreciate you having me on the Be Real show. I know this is a long time coming, but it was so awesome to get to chat with you, and hopefully at least one person in the audience has some takeaways.
Oh yeah, you know it, bro. You already, it. You come up in a big way for us, and I just appreciate your soul, man. Because folks, Jordan is not someone like he says just follows you and then all of a sudden never talks to you again. He's someone that really does nurtures and talks to you and stays a friend, and you've done a great job at scale of building friendship, man. I think that's something that is admirable, as well as obviously being a great dad and being a great father and husband and the many things of our fatherly role. I shout out to you for being just a great friend at scale to so many good people and not making it feel like it's inauthentic, because so many people try to build friendships, but then it's just copy and paste. So just take all the approaches that my man has given you. Folks, you've been hanging out with Jordan J. Mendoza and Travis Too Tall and Huff. We want to thank you again for your time today, and let's keep being real. What another epic episode. And if you enjoyed the episode today, can you please do me a favor and subscribe to our podcast, The Be Real Show, on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, and also take a little time today, if you don't mind, and give your boy T Huff a review. I would really super appreciate it, and thank you so much for listening today. We're all going through a lot right now, and Real-Time Outsource, my business, is giving back to local and small businesses. Through our social media services and campaigns, we are actually helping small businesses get more exposure during these times, and also when we get through these times. At the end of the day, we don't know how long this is all going to last, but most importantly, you got to think about your business right now and take it seriously. So come check us out at realtimeoutsource.com, and we would love for you to qualify and get the process started where we can take a look at your business and see if we can qualify you for some of our services. At little to no costs for most of the businesses, and some businesses, you're going to have to pay, but that's just part of life, right? But most importantly is that I think this is the time, folks, that you can actually help thrive in your business. And so I would love to help you personally with our team. We're all going through a tough time right now. So take advantage of us. realtimeoutsource.com. Check us out, and we would love to do some business with you and help you with your social and digital media in 2020 and beyond.